If you're in the photo, you're already on the list. Chapter 1. The party. Snap Riley balanced a soda can on her knee, laughing as her friends crowded around the living room couch. It was a Saturday night at Jake's place. Pizza boxes stacked high, music thumping, fairy lights twinkling over the snack table. The party was a mess of chatter and bad dance moves, the kind of night that begged for a photo. "Group shot," Riley called, waving her phone. Her friends piled in, Jake with his goofy grin, Mia twirling her braids, Ethan slumping dramatically, and Tara striking a mock-serious pose. "Say pizza," Riley said, holding the phone up. They shouted it, dissolving into giggles as she tapped the screen. The flash popped, and she swiped to check the shot. "Perfect. Wait." She squinted, zooming in. Behind Tara, near the snack table, stood a figure. Tall, blurry, like a smudge on the lens. No face, just a dark outline, hands limp at its sides. "Who's that?" Riley asked, tilting the phone. Jake leaned over. "Probably Ethan's shadow, or something." Ethan smirked. "I'm right here, genius." Mia frowned. "Weird. Take another one. Maybe your phone's glitchy." Riley nodded, brushing it off. "Okay, round 2. They squeezed tighter, grinning, and she snapped again. The second photo loaded. Same group, same couch. But the figure was closer. Standing by the TV now, its blurred form sharper, shoulders hunched. Guys?" Riley said, voice faltering. Tara grabbed the phone. "That's not a shadow. Look at the legs. It's standing." Ethan laughed nervously. "Chill, it's a trick of the light." But Mia's eyes widened. It moved. It moved. Riley's stomach twisted. "Let's try one more. Outside, better light." They shuffled. To the backyard. The cool night air a relief. She framed them against the porch, fairy lights glowing behind. "Smile." Flash. She checked it. There they were, laughing. But the figure loomed by the porch steps, closer still, its blurry head tilted slightly. "Okay, that's creepy," Jake muttered, peering over her shoulder. "Was someone else here?" They glanced around. Empty yard, just crickets chirping. Riley forced a grin. "Maybe it's a prank app or something. I'll figure it out." But as they headed back inside, her phone buzzed. A photo notification. No sender. The same shot. The figure's blur tighter, almost in focus. She didn't sleep easy that night. The image stuck in her mind. Blurry. Faceless. Watching. Chapter. Say. The figure draws. Near Riley woke to sunlight streaming through her curtains, the party's buzz of fuzzy memory. Her phone lay on the nightstand, screen dark, but those photos nagged at her. She grabbed it, swiping to the gallery. 3 shots. From last night, each with that blurry figure creeping closer. "Just a glitch," she muttered. But her hands shook as she scrolled. The 4th photo, the one that popped up unasked, showed the figure by the porch railing, its outline crisp, arms stiff. No face, just a smudged void where one should be. She texted the group chat. "Check your pics from last night. Something's off." Mia replied fast. "That creepy extra? I saw it too." Jake chimed in. "Thought it was a reflection, lol." Ethan. "Take another today. Prove it's nothing." Tara. "Lunch at the park? We'll test it." Riley agreed, needing answers. At the park, they met by the picnic tables, sun high, kids laughing nearby. A perfect day. "Okay, let's do this," Riley said, raising her phone. They huddled close, smiling, except Ethan, who stuck out his tongue. Flash. She checked it. There they were, picnic table behind them, but the figure stood by a tree 10 feet back, taller, blurrier, head cocked like it was listening. "Whoa," Mia whispered, leaning in. It's closer than the porch one. Tara frowned. No one's there now. Look. The tree stood empty, leaves rustling. Jake rubbed his neck. Maybe it's a filter messing with us. Riley scrolled the app. No filters, no edits. Let's try again, she said, voice tight. They posed, more stiffly now, and she snapped. The next shot loaded. Same group, same table. But the figure was by the bench. 5 feet away, its blurred form sharpening, shoulders square. This isn't funny, Ethan muttered, glancing around. The park was quiet, no one near. Riley's phone buzzed. Another unsolicited photo. The figure now at the table's edge, inches from Tara, its faceless head tilted toward her. We didn't take that, Tara said, stepping back. Mia grabbed Riley's arm. Delete them. Now! Riley tried. Swipe, trash, confirm. But the photos stayed, unmovable. Her screen flickered, a message flashing. You can't erase me. She dropped the phone, heart racing, and the group stared as it buzzed again. Another shot. The figures, blur tighter, looming behind Jake. It's following us, Riley whispered. The sunny day suddenly cold. Chapter 3. The shadow in the frame Riley's phone sat on her kitchen counter, screen off, but she couldn't stop glancing at it. Last night's restless sleep had left her jumpy, the park photos replaying in her head. Each one with that blurry figure inching closer, each unsolicited shot a step nearer. The group chat was alive, Mia begging to ditch their phones, Jake joking it was a ghost, Ethan daring her to take more, Tara silent. Riley wasn't sure what she believed, but deleting didn't work, and that message, you can't erase me, stuck like a splinter. She grabbed her phone, texting, meet at the cafe, more pics, we figure this out. They agreed, and an hour later, she sat with them at a corner table, coffee steaming, chatter humming around. One shot, Riley said, raising her phone. They forced smiles, uneasy, and she tapped. Flash. The photo loaded, them at the table, but the figure stood by the counter, blurry, faceless, closer than ever, its head tilted sharply toward Ethan. It's here, Ethan said, voice low, scanning the cafe. No match. Mia shivered. Take another. Quick. Riley did, framing them tighter. The next shot showed the figure by the wall, 3 feet away, its blur fading, hinting at a shape. Broad shoulders, long arms. It's getting clearer, Jake muttered, paling. Tara grabbed the phone. Look, the shadows don't match. It's not us. Riley's phone buzzed. An unasked photo. The figure at their table, looming over Mia, its faceless head a smudge of dark. That didn't happen, Mia yelped, shoving her chair back. The cafe buzzed on, oblivious. Riley tried deleting again. Nothing. The screen flickered. I'm in every frame now. Her hands shook as she snapped one more, desperate to prove it wrong. The photo loaded. Them. Tense. The figure right behind Tara. Inches away, its blur sharpening into a coat, a hand reaching. We've got to stop, Tara whispered. But Riley's phone buzzed again. Another shot. The figure's arm brushing Jake's shoulder, its faceless void tilting toward her lens. She stared at the empty cafe corner. It's not really here, she said, voice trembling. But it's in the photos. The group fell silent, the hum of normal life mocking them as the figure closed in, frame by frame. Chapter 4. The frame. Tightens. Riley's hands hovered over her phone, the cafe's chatter a distant hum as the last photo stared back. The blurry figure inches from Jake, its faceless head tilted, almost curious. The group sat frozen, coffee cooling, eyes darting between the screen and the empty corner where nothing stood. It's not real, Ethan said, voice shaky. Just some glitch, right? But Mia shook her head, braids swaying. It's moving closer every time. That's no glitch. Riley swiped through the shots. Party, park, cafe. Each one a step nearer, the blur sharpening into a vague shape. Coat, arms, no face. "Let's test it," she said, forcing calm. "One more, somewhere else." Tara frowned. "You're crazy." But Jake nodded. "Library, quiet, controlled. Let's go." They grabbed their stuff, the cafe's normalcy jarring against the knot in Riley's chest. At the library, they slipped into a study room. Wooden table, shelves of books, a single window. "Okay," Riley said, raising her phone. They huddled, faces tight, and she snapped. The photo loaded, them at the table, the figure by the door, taller, its coat clearer, head cocked sharply toward Mia. "It's here too," Mia whispered, clutching the table. Ethan checked the door. Empty. "Again," Riley said, voice firm despite the tremble. They posed. Flash popped. The next shot showed the figure by the shelves, 2 feet away, its blur fading, long fingers visible, reaching faintly toward Tara. Jake's breath hitched. "It's speeding up." Riley's phone buzzed. A new photo, unasked. The figure at the table's edge looming over Ethan, its faceless void sharper like it was forming. "Delete it," Tara snapped, but Riley tried. Swipe, trash, nothing. The screen flickered. "I'm part of you now." Her stomach dropped. "It's talking to us," she said, showing them. Mia grabbed a pen, scribbling the message on a napkin, hands shaking. "What does it want?" Ethan asked, voice low. No one answered. They snapped another, desperate for clues. The photo loaded. Them, pale, the figure behind Jake, inches away, its coat crisp, one hand hovering over his shoulder, faceless head tilting toward Riley. Her phone buzzed again. Another shot, the figure's fingers brushing Jake's neck, its blur so tight she swore she saw a jawline flicker. "It's not stopping," she whispered, the library's silence pressing in as the figure closed the gap. Chapter 5. The Shadow's Claim. Rose Riley's phone felt heavy in her grip, the library study room a cage of books and dread. The latest photo glowed on the screen, the figure's blurry hand on Jake's shoulder, its faceless head inches from his, sharper than ever. The group stared, breath shallow, the air thick despite the open window. "We can't keep doing this," Tara said, voice cracking. "It's getting too close." Jake rubbed his neck, pale. "I didn't feel anything, but look at it." Mia snatched the phone. "No more pics, let's ditch it." But Riley shook her head. "It's not the phone. It's us. Look at the pattern." She swiped back. Party, park, cafe, library, the figure always nearer, blurring less each time. "It's following us, not the device." Ethan frowned. "Then what? We stop taking photos?" Riley hesitated. "One more, to see." They reluctantly agreed, huddling tighter, faces grim. Flash. The photo loaded. Them at the table, the figure behind Tara now, right behind, its coat fully formed, long fingers hovering over her hair, head tilted toward Riley's lens. "It's switching," Mia whispered, pointing. Tara flinched, brushing her head like something lingered. Riley's phone buzzed, an unasked shot, the figure's hand on Tara's shoulder, its faceless void showing a faint outline, almost eyes. "Enough," Jake said, standing. "We're out." They grabbed their bags, but Riley's screen flickered. "You can't leave me behind." She froze, showing them. "It knows we're moving," she said, voice trembling. They bolted to the library's main hall, open, bright, people studying. "Here," Riley said, raising her phone. "Last one, public spot." Flash. The photo loaded. Them in the hall, the figure by a bookshelf, 3 feet away, coat stark, arms stiff, head cocked toward Ethan. "It's still coming," Ethan muttered, scanning the shelves. Nothing. Another buzz. The figure at their backs, inches from Mia. Its blur so tight a nose flickered in the void. "It's too fast," Mia said, near tears. Riley tried deleting. Nothing. The screen pulsed. "I'm collecting you." Her heart raced. "Collecting," she echoed, but the library hummed on, oblivious, as the figure's shadow loomed larger in every frame, claiming them one snap at a time. Chapter 6. The Lens Sees. Too much. Riley stood in the library hall, the photo of the figure behind Mia burning. Into her eyes, its coat clear, its faceless head tilting, a hint of features shimmering in the blur. The group clustered tight, bags slung over shoulders, the bustle of students a cruel contrast to their panic. "Collecting us," Jake repeated, voice low. "What does that even mean?" Tara hugged herself. "It's not stopping. Look how close it is." Mia shoved Riley's phone back. "No more. I'm done." But Riley clutched it, mind racing. "We need to know what it wants. Why us?" Ethan scoffed, nervous. "It's a photo ghost. Great. Let's just burn the phone." Riley shook her head. "It's not the phone. It's the pictures. One more. Controlled." They groaned but nodded, too scared to split up. She led them to the library steps outside. Wide, open, daylight glaring. "Here," she said, raising the phone. They posed, rigid. Flash popped. The photo loaded. Them on the steps, the figure at the railing. 2 feet away, its coat swaying. Long fingers, curled head tilted toward Tara. "It's still here," Tara whispered, stepping back. Riley's phone buzzed, an unsolicited shot. The figure on the step below, inches from Jake, its blur fading, a jawline clear, eyes hinting in the void. "It's getting too clear," Ethan said, voice tight. "Take another, now." Riley did, flash blinding in the sun. The next photo showed the figure beside Mia, right beside, its coat brushing her arm, faceless head sharp, a mouth flickering. "No!" Mia yelped, swatting the air. Nothing there. Another buzz. The figure behind Ethan, hand on his shoulder. Its blur so thin Riley saw cheekbones, hollow sockets forming. The screen flickered. "You're mine to keep." Riley's breath caught. "It's claiming us," she said, showing them. Jake grabbed a stick, scribbling the messages in the dirt. "Can't erase me. Collecting you, mine to keep." "It's a pattern," he muttered. "It's taking us." Tara's eyes widened. "In the photos, it's already got us there." Riley stared at the empty steps, the figure's shadow growing in her mind, frame by frame, as the day's light mocked their fear. Chapter 7. The Steps. Mark the line. Riley clutched her phone, the library steps sprawling empty before her, though the latest photo told a different story. The figure behind Ethan, its hand on his shoulder, its faceless blur sharpening into hollow sockets and a faint, grim mouth. The group stood rigid, the afternoon sun glaring down, casting shadows that didn't match the images. Jake's stick lay in the dirt, his scribbled messages, "Can't erase me, collecting you, mine to keep." A frantic map of their fear. "It's taking us," Tara repeated, voice trembling. "One photo at a time." Mia hugged herself, eyes darting. "Then we stop. Right now." But Riley shook her head, pulse racing. "It's not stopping. We need to see how close it can get." Ethan groaned. "You're obsessed. It's practically on us." Jake nodded, grim. "One more, then we figure out how to ditch it." They agreed, reluctant, and Riley raised her phone, framing them against the steps. "Hold still," she said, voice tight. Flash. The photo loaded. Them on the steps. The figure beside Tara, shoulder to shoulder, its coat swaying, long fingers brushing her elbow, head tilted toward Riley. The blur was nearly gone. Cheekbones stark, eye sockets deep, a lipless mouth curling faintly. "It's right there," Tara whispered, stepping away. Nothing beside her in the light. Riley's phone buzzed. An unasked shot. The figure behind Jake, both hands on his shoulders, its face sharper, hollow eyes fixed on the lens. "It's switching again," Mia said, voice cracking. "It's targeting us all." Riley swiped back. Party, park, cafe, library, steps. The figure's march relentless, its form clearer each time. "We're running out of space," Jake muttered, rubbing his shoulders like he felt it. Ethan grabbed Riley's arm. "One more, fast." She nodded, snapping again, the flash stark against the sun. The next photo showed the figure beside Mia, pressed close, its coat brushing her side, fingers hovering over her neck, face almost complete. Sunken eyes, a jagged mouth, staring straight at Riley. Another buzz. The figure behind Ethan, inches away, hands reaching, its features so sharp she saw faint lines, like scars, across its cheeks. The screen flickered. "You're all in my frame now." Riley's breath hitched. "It's got us all," she said, showing them. The steps stood empty, the day bright, but the photos held a shadow growing too real, too near, its collection nearly full. Chapter 8. The grip in the light Riley's phone trembled in her hands, the latest message. "You're all in my frame now," burning into her mind as the group huddled on the library steps. The sun blazed, kids laughed nearby, but the photos told a darker truth. The figure behind Ethan, its scarred hollow face inches from his, hands reaching. "It's not just close," Mia whispered, voice barely audible. "It's touching us." Jake rubbed his neck again, eyes wide. "I swear I feel something. Cold." Tara snatched the phone. "No more pics, it's winning." But Riley pulled it back. "We need to know what's next. If we stop, we're blind." Ethan scoffed, shaky. "Blind's better than this." Jake cut in. "One more. Somewhere busy. If it's us, not the place, it'll follow." They nodded, grim, and piled into Jake's car, heading for the mall. Crowds, noise, a test. Inside, they stood by the food court, people bustling, fries sizzling, lights glaring. "Here," Riley said, raising her phone. They posed, forced smiles cracking, flash popped. The photo loaded, them in the crowd, the figure behind Tara. Right behind, its coat pressed to her back, fingers curling over her shoulder, face sharp, hollow eyes, scarred cheeks, a mouth twisting upward. "It's on me now," Tara said, voice breaking, swatting the air. Nothing. Riley's phone buzzed, an unsolicited shot. The figure beside Jake, arm around his neck, its face so clear she saw faint teeth glinting in the blur's edge. "It's switching fast," Ethan muttered, pale. "One more," Riley insisted, snapping again. The next photo showed the figure behind Mia, flush against her, hands on her arms, face fully formed, sunken eyes, scarred flesh, a smile that chilled her. Another buzz. Behind Ethan, embracing him, its jagged mouth opened slightly. The screen pulsed. "My collection grows." Riley's knees wobbled. "It's holding us," she said, showing them. Mia sobbed, "Make it stop." Jake grabbed a maul, flyer, scribbling the messages. "Can't erase me, collecting you, mine to keep, frame now, grows," his hands shaking. "It's not just photos," he said. "It's us." The maul hummed on, oblivious, as the figure's grip tightened in the frames, pulling them closer to its list. Chapter 9. The Crowd Can't Hide. Then Riley's phone felt like a live wire. The mall's food court a blur of chatter and clatter as the group stared at the latest photo, the figure embracing Ethan, its scarred face grinning, teeth glinting in the light. The unsolicited shots piled up, each one a step closer, a claim, deeper. "It's not stopping," Mia whispered, wiping tears, her arms crossed tight. Jake's flyer lay crumpled, the scribbled messages a frantic plea for sense. "We're in its trap," he said, voice hollow. Tara nodded, pale. "It's collecting us. Look how it holds us." Ethan grabbed Riley's phone. "Then we fight it, more pics, flood it, confuse it." Riley hesitated. His desperation mirrored hers, but nodded. "Okay, rapid fire. Stay together." They stood shoulder to shoulder, the crowd swirling around, and she snapped, flash, 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 3 quick shots. The first loaded, the figure behind Tara, hands on her waist, face sharp, eyes boring into the lens. The second, beside Jake, arm locked around his chest, mouth wider, scarred cheeks gleaming. The third, flush against Mia, hands gripping her, shoulders, its grin splitting its face. Riley's phone buzzed. 3 unasked shots, the figure shifting, behind Ethan, then Tara, then Jake, each time closer, its scarred hands clutching tighter, its hollow eyes glinting with intent. "It's too fast," Ethan muttered, dropping the phone on the table. The screen flickered. "You're all mine to frame." Mia snatched it, trying to delete. Nothing moved. "Let's move." "Somewhere loud," Jake said, voice urgent. They bolted to the mall's arcade, neon lights flashing, games beeping, kids shouting. Riley raised her phone, hands slick with sweat. "One more," she said, and they posed, the noise a shield. Flash. The photo loaded, them in the arcade. The figure behind Mia, right behind, its coat brushing her back. Scarred face fully formed, mouth open in a silent laugh, eyes locked on Riley. Another buzz. The figure beside Jake, hands on his neck, its grin wider, teeth stark. The screen pulsed. "My list is almost full." Riley's breath caught. "It's running out of room," she said, voice trembling. The arcade's chaos fading as the figure's shadow loomed, claiming them frame by frame. Chapter 10. The list closes. And Riley's hands shook as she held her phone, the arcade's neon, lights flashing around them, beeps and laughter, a hollow shield against the dread sinking into her bones. The latest photo glowed on the screen. The figure behind Mia, its scarred face grinning wide, teeth stark, hands gripping her shoulders like a prize. The group pressed close, the air thick with their fear. Jake's crumpled flyer of messages. "Can't. Erase me. Collecting you. Mine to keep. Frame now grows. List full." A testament to their unraveling fight. "It's almost got us," Mia whispered, voice breaking, her arms wrapped tight around herself. Tara grabbed Riley's arm. "No more. We're done." But Riley's pulse raced, her mind stuck on the pattern. Party, park, cafe, library, mall, arcade. The figure's march relentless, its form now too real. "One last shot," she said, voice firm despite the tremor. "We see where it ends." Ethan groaned. "You're nuts." But Jake nodded, grim. "Final stand. Here." They huddled tighter, the arcade's noise buzzing, and Riley raised her phone. "Look at me," she said, flash popping in the chaos. The photo loaded. Them, in the arcade, the figure behind Jake, flush against him, scarred face pressed to his ear, hollow eyes gleaming, hands locked around his chest. "It's on me," Jake croaked, swatting his shoulder. Nothing there. Riley's phone buzzed. An unasked shot. The figure beside Tara, arms encircling her waist, its grin splitting wider, teeth glinting like blades. "It's switching too fast," Ethan muttered, pale, glancing at the empty space beside Tara. Riley snapped again, desperate. Flash. The next photo showed the figure behind Mia, hands on her neck, scarred face so close its jaw brushed her hair, eyes boring into the lens. Another buzz. Behind Ethan, embracing him fully, its mouth open in a silent laugh, hollow sockets deep and dark. The screen flickered. "You're my collection now." Riley's breath hitched, showing them. "It's got us all. Look," she said, voice trembling, swiping back. Each shot a tighter grip, a clearer claim. Mia sobbed. "What does it want?" Jake grabbed a napkin, scribbling the new message, hands unsteady. "It's done collecting," he said, voice hollow. Riley stared at the arcade crowd, oblivious, normal. Then at her phone, the figure's shadow growing in her mind. "One more," she whispered, raising it again, the flash a last gasp against the inevitable pull of its list. Chapter 11. The frame goes. Blank Riley's phone trembled as the arcade's lights pulsed, the final flash searing the air. The group stood frozen, Jake rubbing his neck, Tara clutching her waist, Mia wiping tears, Ethan scanning the crowd, all waiting for the photo to load. It did. Them in the arcade, faces pale, but the figure stood among them. Center frame, scarred face fully formed, hollow eyes staring out, jagged mouth grinning wide, hands resting on Riley's shoulders. "No," she whispered, dropping the phone. It clattered on the table, screen up, glowing. "It's with us," Ethan said, voice cracking, stepping back. Nothing behind Riley but air. Mia grabbed the phone, swiping, party to arcade, the figure's path a tightening noose, now here, now them. Riley's phone buzzed. An unasked shot. The figure alone, standing where they'd been, its grin wider, teeth stark, holding a photo of them. Their faces blurred, their outlines smudged, like they'd been erased. "What the—" Jake started, but the screen pulsed. "You're now part of my collection." Tara screamed, "Delete it!" Riley tried. Swipe, trash, nothing. The photos stayed, unmovable, the figure's grip eternal. "It's not deleting us," she said, voice shaking. "It's keeping us." The arcade hummed on, kids laughing, games beeping, but their table felt cold, the air heavy. Mia shoved the phone away. "Then break it." Riley hesitated, then nodded. Ethan grabbed a chair, smashing it down. The screen cracked, went black, but a faint buzz lingered, the message echoing in her head. They stumbled outside, dusk settling, the mall's noise fading behind. Riley's pocket buzzed, her cracked phone still alive, screen flickering on. A new photo loaded. Jake, Tara, Mia, Ethan on the steps, faces tense, but Riley was gone, a blank space where she'd stood. The figure loomed behind them, clearer than ever, holding a frame with her blurred face inside. "Riley?" Mia whispered, turning. She was there, solid, real. "I'm here," she said, but her voice felt thin, distant. Another buzz. The photo, updated. Ethan's space blank now, the figure's frame holding his blur. He gasped, still standing, but the group stared, the list shrinking in the shots. The cracked screen pulsed. One by one. Riley's heart pounded. She was still, there, but fading. The figure's collection growing as the world moved on, oblivious to the frames claiming them all.